And in today's show, we cross over to our correspondent, Carrie Noten, who's in Singapore. Carrie, we're starting with Malaysia and a big day for the Prime Minister, Najib Razak.
Well, Aurora, yes, indeed, it's a big day because Najib Razak is presenting the budget today. It's the first budget of his mandate, but it's not going to be an easy task for Najib. He has indeed been re-elected a few days ago as the head of his party, the UMNO coalition, and still faces many challenges. On the budget front, as we were saying, there's a growing public debt and fragile exports. The government would need more revenues, for sure, to stabilize its finances, and Najib may be obliged to take some deep fiscal reforms that could hit even more his popularity. In the meanwhile, he's still challenged on the political side by the opposition coalition, which actually won the popular vote at the last general elections in May. So what's really at stake, Aurora, is that Najib's UMNO is the longest continuing ruling party in the world. It was nearly ousted 6 months ago, so of course everybody is observing this new term with a lot of attention.
All right, let's focus now on the neighbouring Sultanate of Brunei, because a tough new Sharia criminal code is expected to be implemented there.
Yes, Brunei Sultan himself announced it 2 days ago. Under the new law, the Sharia, citizens could be stoned for adultery or having a limb amputated for theft. Other violations such as alcohol consumption or abortion could be punished by flogging. The new penal code is said to be enforced in 6 months' time, and according to local media, it will apply only to Muslims, which count for 2/3 of the population in Brunei. Still, it may seem surprising to have the Sharia implemented in this tiny, wealthy old sultanate, but it's actually really linked to Sultan Al-Qanat Bolkiah personality and the way he tightly controls Brunei. He's one of the richest persons in the world, but observers say that he's becoming more attached to Islam, growing older.
Carrie, you've been filming in Brunei, and you've got a striking report for us about the danger that water villages are facing.
Well, Kampong Ayer is the name of the water villages, or the group of water villages. It's actually a very old place. It was discovered by Magellan's expedition during the 15th century, Aurora. At the time, it was a strategic point of passage for commercial ships between China Sea and Indian Ocean. It was so busy, it was dubbed the Venice of the East, to give you an idea. Nowadays, some 20,000 people still live there. That's roughly 8% of the population. And everybody wonders, will Kampong Ayer survive to modernity? I let you watch this report we've produced with Matthew Horstman.
In oil-rich Brunei, 8% of the population lives in houses built on stilts. Kampong Ayer is the world's biggest water village. This community is 1,000 years old, but it's under permanent threat. Frequent electrical short circuits cause fires that destroy the wooden houses. 200 firemen keep watch, but they're not always in a position to help. The last big fire in June left 34 families homeless.
In this village, houses are too close to each other, so if there's a fire, it spreads very fast. It's even more difficult at low tide because we can't reach the fire and have to go around a lot of houses to get to it.
The population has plummeted from 40,000 to 20,000 in the last 30 years as locals flee the fires and litter dumped in the river. Sofri Ali inherited this house from his uncle. Unlike his neighbours, he and his 7 children want to stay.
People started moving out in the 70s and 80s when the government offered them social housing. If someone from Kampong Ayer was getting one, very often he would sell his house to strangers or sometimes his own family.
Recently, the authorities have been trying to stop the mass exodus. They've set up regular rubbish collections and even equipped 65 newly built houses with sewage systems, a first for Kampong Ayer. Supri Hadup was offered social housing and had the choice of a house on land or on stilts. It didn't take him long to decide.
The walls are made of cement. They haven't used wooden planks, and inside there's an insulation layer which will stop excess heat coming in. They should build more houses like this. It would keep Kampong Ayer's heritage alive.
Brunei's authorities are capitalizing on the village's reputation as the Venice of the East. Their latest plans propose protecting the village while also bringing in more tourists to ensure its survival.
The master plan actually is very much trying to keep the water village as is and probably have some places where it can become tourist centers and so on. People may be allowed to build, say, small restaurants, probably a homestay program. The water village is like the pearl of Brunei. So, you can't really change much to it. You don't want it to be changed.
The real challenge is to strike a balance between the traditional and the modern, so that future generations will want to help Kampong Ayer adapt to the changing times.
Carrie Norton, thank you very much for that report. That was Carrie Norton reporting there from Singapore. All right, and there's more news coming up with Claire Murphy. My colleague will be taking over. She'll be bringing you all the latest news right here on France 24.